How did Wade not know that she was faking the pregnancy? Couldn't he see her body? Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Crue Trime. Oh my God, it's like Crue Trime. I've been watching a lot of Love Island. My name is Sarah, and what I do here is tell you a terrible story to ruin your day and put on my makeup at the same time. So if that sounds like fun to you, you're weird and also in the right place. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, turn on all of the notifications, and then that way you will never miss one of my terrible stories. I don't know if you can hear that humming. There's a fan happening right here. It's hot. Okay, it's 100 degrees. I'm running the fan. Deal with it. I hope you're having a lovely summer. I have recently taken a couple weeks off to enjoy some time away. We went to England. You can watch the vlog right here if you care. And it has been a while since I've told a terrible story, but I have got a whopper for you today, friends. This story has been featured in a Netflix documentary recently, and it's all over social media, and the documentary is good. Well, it's terrible, but it's good, but it leaves out a lot of information. So no worries. Got you covered. This is the story of Taylor Parker. I brought home a souvenir in my throat. Around 9:30 in the morning on October 9th, 2020, Texas State Trooper Lee Shavers witnessed a car driving very erratically. It was speeding, swerving, almost hitting other motorists, so he initiated a traffic stop. This happened in DeKalb, Texas, and it's a little tiny town in the northeast corner of Texas near the Oklahoma border. Anyways, the driver of the car waved her arms out of the window, motioning for him to hurry up and get to her door. And when Trooper Shavers got to the driver's window, the driver, was hysterical.
I'm trying to get to Idabel Hospital.
Idabel?
Yeah, my husband's up there.
Why aren't you going to St. Michael's or somewhere?
We're going to Idabel. It's where my doctor is. I need to get up there.
She was begging for help. She was covered in blood, and there was what appeared to be a newborn baby on her lap. The baby was silent, still, and gray. The baby's umbilical cord was still attached, and the other end of it went into the woman's pants. The woman was 27-year-old Taylor Parker, and she was already on the phone with a 911 dispatcher, and Trooper Shavers called for an ambulance. Taylor begged him to take her in his police cruiser to McCurtain Memorial Hospital in Idabel, Oklahoma, where she was originally headed. And it was about, 35 miles away, almost an hour. Well, Trooper Shavers, to his credit, was perfectly calm the entire time. He assured the woman that the ambulance was a better option, and Taylor was frantically trying to revive the baby, pressing on its chest with her fingers to try to get its heart going.
Can you just put me in your car and drive us so we're not sitting, please? I'm begging you to.
But there's nothing I can do. You're gonna need EMS.
I'm fine. If you'll just get us there as quick as possible, they'll meet us. Please, I'm begging you.
I just need EMS.
She asked him to call her husband Wade. Well, that's what she referred to him as, her husband. She said he was doing something up in Oklahoma that day, which is another reason that she was trying to get to the hospital in Idabel. A Good Samaritan motorist, a woman named Amanda, pulled over and offered to help. She was a trained nurse. She immediately knew that this was not a good situation. She took the baby, who was cool to the touch. 2 ambulances later arrived, and the paramedics immediately started working on the baby inside one of the trucks, and the nurse helped Amanda out of the car and into the second ambulance. She gave her some water and helped to wipe the blood from her face and hands, tried to comfort Taylor, who seemed to be in a state of shock. So Taylor told the responders that she was about a week or so past her due date, and she had started feeling some intense pressure in her belly that morning, so she hopped in the car to head to the hospital in Idabel. And she didn't want to go to the hospital that was closer. She said she'd had a bad experience there with her first child, whatever. But as she was driving, she felt this intense need to push, so she did, and the baby came out. And that's when she called 911, and that's why she was all over the road, because she was on the phone and driving and trying to fish this baby out of her pants. So the ambulances arrived at McCurtain Memorial Hospital around 10:30 a.m. and the emergency team got working on Taylor and the baby right away. At that time, the baby had a very faint heartbeat, but was not out of the woods. Taylor was wheeled into the emergency room. The placenta was in her pants. with the umbilical cord. The nurses got her out of her bloody clothes and they cleaned her up and put her in a hospital gown, but Taylor refused any further treatment or exams. The nurses were immediately squinting.
That's weird.
And they called law enforcement. Now, Taylor's story is already kind of crazy, right? She was all over the place with the details, like about her due date and other things that an expectant mother would be able to fire off quickly. And the nurses also noticed that her physical condition didn't line up with someone who had just given birth. Now, part of the standard protocol for somebody that's in labor, giving birth, or has just given birth, right, is to draw some blood, which they did. When they tested the blood, it did not show any HGC hormone. Now, HGC hormone is what is produced by the placenta during pregnancy, and it stays in the mother's bloodstream and urine and all of that for like up to 6 weeks even after giving birth. Like, okay, there was the placenta in her pants and all. Taylor's HGC level was exactly none. A woman who had just given birth would have an enlarged uterus and some other key trauma to the Vaj Mahal. Get what I'm saying? You would think that somebody that had just given birth on the roadside would want to make sure that they were not hemorrhaging or injured in some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Rips. She did allow the nurses to perform an external ultrasound, and when they looked at it, it appeared that she did not even have a uterus, like at all. These are all the things that led them to call law enforcement. Basically, there was no scientific, anatomic, medical, spiritual,
Morally, ethically.
metaphysical way that Taylor is the one who gave birth to that baby. The nurses all started whispering to each other, "She cannot leave."
This is a big deal. Yeah.
So there's body cam footage from the emergency room that day, and I've got to say, it is cinematic, you guys.
He don't want no part of this. He took off. He's the OBGYN. Yeah, I was the one that got called up resuscitating the baby.
What did we step into?
Oh, it's interesting.
The nurses, the law enforcement folks, even country-ass Taylor Parker herself, it is too much. Meanwhile, another 911 call came in around the same time that Taylor arrived at the hospital. A woman in New Boston, Texas, which is very near the area where Taylor was picked up, right? A woman in New Boston, Texas was found dead in her home. She had been beaten about the head, stabbed multiple times, and there was a gaping wound in her abdomen because her unborn child had been cut out of her body. Damn! The baby was missing. Police issued a be on the lookout for the baby, and law enforcement started connecting the dots quickly. So Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation agent Chad Dansby came to Taylor's bedside in the ER to have a little chat. He made some polite small talk while Taylor kept up her wild story, and I'll tell you, like, her demeanor is crazy. Like, he's asking her questions perfectly polite, and she's like, "I told you already!"
No, an ambulance brought
brought you?
me. Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
slot net.
Taylor, bring it down. Between Agent Dansby and the other perfectly lovely and friendly, kind female police officer that's like recording the body cam footage, you can't see her face, but you can just hear her voice talking. They talked Taylor and reassured her into having the physical exam to make sure she's not hemorrhaging, that she's not in danger, right? I didn't know it was a big deal to not want to let the man do that. Girl. So they're just like waiting for the doctor now. And now Agent Dansby got down to brass tacks. He said, "We know you had a hysterectomy some time ago. We're trying to figure out where this baby came from. We know you didn't give birth this morning." Gooped.
What do you mean?
That's what I just said. You didn't give birth this morning.
And the whole time Taylor's just looking at him like, what? Well, Taylor doubled down.
I just told y'all what happened.
Okay.
And Agent Dansby said, "What's the doctor going to find when he comes in here and checks you? They can tell." Agent Dansby told her about the woman found with the baby cut out of her body, and Taylor got a little quieter. Then the residing OB came into the emergency room to perform the exam. Agent Dansby and company excused themselves from the room. The reason we know that the exam happened, and it's filmed, the woman, police officer that's recording, is like behind a curtain, so you can't see anything. You can just hear the doctor talking, right? Well, after about 10 seconds, The doctor says,
So, it surely doesn't look like a baby came out of there.
epic.
It doesn't look like she had a baby.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
Then he left the room, he relayed the same thing to the other officers, and the cops came back in the room and they started leaning in hard. Taylor continued her lie, or tried to, for a little while longer, and then Agent Dansby just like kept on asking her questions. And then Taylor finally cracked. She said, I really wanted the baby.
What?
How did we get here, you ask? Well, let's rewind all the way, shall we? Taylor Renee Morton was born on December 8th, 1982 in Titus County, Texas, to Shauna Pryor and Mark Morton. She had a younger brother named Zachary, and they attended Chapel Hill Elementary School in Mount Pleasant, Texas. Taylor was an average student. She played sports, like most of the other neighborhood kids. As the years went on, the marriage between Shauna and Mark deteriorated. Things in the household completely unraveled. Shauna and Mark fought constantly, and they eventually divorced when Taylor was about 12 years old. Now, the divorce, by all accounts, was ugly. The custody situation was very volatile, and Mark and Shauna would use the kids as leverage, Mark especially. Taylor chose to live with her father, and her brother stayed with her mother, Shauna. Now, Mark was a mess. After the divorce, he was partying a lot, chasing women, doing drugs, not paying attention to his kids at all. And Taylor was at, a pretty tender age. She was kind of left to her own devices, and she struggled with her weight and was insecure. So that, coupled with the longing of an absent father figure, kind of pushed her to seek attention from the boys. Taylor also had developed this penchant for lying, like telling wild lies that could very easily be proven wrong, but she was prolific. A lot of kids lie about silly things, but this was constant, big time lies. She told people that she was a Morton of the Morton salt fortune, like Morton salt.
I invented Post-its.
She told people that she was suffering from various illnesses, very serious ones like cancer, multiple sclerosis. She also, as she got a little older, became like a big time catfisher. And I don't mean like sport fishing, using pictures of other people's bodies neck down and like putting her head on their bodies, or, just sending neck down scandalous pictures to men that she was meeting and talking to online. Taylor became promiscuous, and at age 17, she got pregnant. Shocker. The relationship did not work out, and the baby daddy split. Double shocker. She moved on to another relationship, and she got married pretty young, around age 20 or so, to a guy named Tommy Way Casey. She was pregnant again immediately, and she had the second child when she was about 21 years old. Now, their relationship was actually pretty stable. Their life was going pretty well. They had a cute little family, Tommy had a decent job. Taylor, after the second baby, decided to have her tubes tied, tubal ligation, so she could kind of put things on pause as far as growing the family, kind of focus on herself a little bit. She had gastric bypass surgery, like a gastric sleeve. She ended up losing a ton of weight, and that kind of boosted her self-confidence, Part of the reason that she was catfishing those guys all those years, it was like a couple years before. The reason that she was catfishing is because she was insecure with her body. She finally, I guess in her mind, was who she wanted to be in those pictures, and it actually wasn't great for the marriage because Taylor started cheating on Tommy a lot. That caused problems, of course, but Tommy was committed to their marriage and wanted to work things out and keep their family together. Now, a while later, despite having this tubal ligation that prevents eggs from being released from the fallopian tubes to be fertilized, Taylor got pregnant, and it was an ectopic pregnancy, meaning that the fertilized egg was implanted outside of the uterus. That is not viable. It's actually very, very dangerous, life-threatening, right? So she had to have a surgery to remove this pregnancy, save her life, right? And while they were in there, they discovered that the situation was very complicated, and it was going to require Taylor to undergo a full hysterectomy. Now, they discovered this when she was asleep, on the operating table, so she couldn't be the one to consent. Now, the legal documents say that Tommy, her husband, was the one that consented, but her mother, Shauna, later testified spoiler, that she was the one that consented to this procedure. But either way, it wasn't Taylor's decision. And when she woke up on the operating table, the recovery room, she was pissed off. Devastated. A tubal ligation, I think they can reverse it? Question mark? Let me know in the comments. But anyways, having your uterus removed, it means that she would never be able to carry another pregnancy. After the surgery, things between Taylor and Tommy were never the same, and their marriage fell apart, shocker, and they divorced. Well, in 2018, Taylor married for a second time, this time to a man named Hunter Parker. Well, she desperately wanted more children. Some people say that she did not tell Hunter about the hysterectomy, and I guess she faked a couple of pregnancies. That turned into Taylor desperately trying to find a surrogate, right? So she was asking her friends to carry a baby for her, and it just didn't work out. She tried to take out a loan to pay for a surrogate, I guess, that she claimed to have found. She claimed that she would be able to pay back this money when she inherited this fortune from the Morton Salt Company. Actually, I think by this time she had moved on from the Morton Salt Company, and it was now a maple syrup fortune. Taylor's husband started getting text messages from somebody claiming to be delivering this surrogate money in cash. I have questions. Why are we paying in cash, bags of cash? I don't know, but this is the story, okay? So Hunter's getting text messages about, I'm delivering this money in cash, but then the guy never shows up. Somehow, Taylor has the details. She says that the person that was going to be delivering this money got into a car accident, but when the first responders showed up, they stole the duffel bag filled with cash and ran off with it. Instead of helping the person in the car accident?
That makes no fucking sense!
Hunter confronted Taylor about it, but she had an answer for everything. She always did. She was very convincing, somehow. And she was also claiming to be sick at the same time, right? She said that she had suffered a stroke and needed to be hospitalized. It was bullshit, of course. But this is how Taylor was keeping Hunter around, you know what I mean? Because she couldn't get pregnant. She knew it. So she's cooking up all these wild stories about surrogates and crazy. And then being sick, for sympathy, whatever. By the spring of 2019, the marriage was over. But we've got this pattern now, a very clear pattern. So a few months later, the now 26-year-old divorced mother of two is on the prowl. And this is when she crossed paths with Wade Griffin. This was at a rodeo. Wade was a redheaded cowboy from, a well-known family in Sims, Texas. They raised livestock and they were farmers, really hardworking people that were well known in the town, well respected, right? And this relationship was kind of casual. Wade wasn't really that into Taylor, but she was cute enough, I guess. They were just having fun. But Taylor was a cute little thing, and very charming. She was very eager to help out around the Griffin family farm. And she'd also cooked up this real juicy story about being an heiress to an oil fortune. She's moved on from salt and maple syrup. Now, in this version of the story, she had a very bad, terrible relationship with her mother because her mom was a greedy monster who hated her because she didn't want to share any of this family fortune, and she even had threatened her life. The drama. Then, Taylor told Wade that she was pregnant with twins. But Sarah, Taylor cannot get pregnant. She has no uterus. We know this. Wade does not know this. And he was from the kind of family that, does the right thing, right? The pregnancy came very quickly in the relationship that he was only kind of into, but he's going to take responsibility, right? He's going to be a man. That actually turned into allowing Taylor and her kids to move into his house. Well, at this time, Taylor only had custody of one of her children. The other one lived with their father. Anyway, things were moving fast, but he was determined to step up and take responsibility, right? It was everything Taylor wanted. So much like her father, when she was in a relationship with somebody, that was the focus, and the kids went to the side, right? So she's got one kid off with this baby daddy. She actually reached out to the father of the other child to ask him to take custody of that child because she was afraid that her boyfriend was going to dump her. Well, before the lie could continue any further, Taylor said that she had, unfortunately, suffered a miscarriage. Wade was kind of sad about, but also a little relieved, honestly. Maybe this was the universe's way of pumping the brakes so they could slow down this relationship and maybe he could actually dump her. Well, apparently that initial pregnancy was like just a test, like Taylor testing the waters, because 6 weeks later, Taylor was pretty much pregnant again. That's what she said. Now, I don't know what pretty much pregnant is. And Wade was also confused at the timing of things. And I guess in the time that she was recovering from this miscarriage, they had only been intimate like one time. So he's like doing the math, like, wait a minute, what, how? But once again, Wade believed that it was his responsibility to see things through. So he stayed. Or, let Taylor stay. Taylor also, remember, had claimed to be an heiress to this oil fortune, and she said that she was about to inherit millions of dollars from her ailing grandmother. And she had told Wade that her greedy mother had hired hitmen to kill her, and she was under the protection of the police, under surveillance. Taylor had, of course, made all this up. And she was so elaborate. She was faking phone calls and faking text messages from this police officer that was working the case. She was not only faking phone calls and text messages to herself, she was faking them to Wade. And that was all just very convincing, that this was real. Taylor had engineered such an elaborate fairy tale around her evil mother that essentially anything that made Taylor look bad or was questionable, is that real? She would spin it to make it look like her mother did it to discredit her and turn people against her and, drive her insane and make her suicidal so that and then she wouldn't have to share this oil fortune with her. So with all this money coming in December of 2019, Wade and Taylor started shopping big time.
Big time. Big time.
Big time.
They bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of vehicles, including a vehicle for Wade's mother. And Taylor claimed that she was going to buy this $4 million ranch in Oklahoma. Now, this ranch or hunting property or whatever the heck it was a major thing. Everybody was talking about it in the family. They were making all these plans. It wasn't never going to happen. Now, surprise, surprise, the vehicles started getting repossessed because Taylor was not making the payments. She claimed that they needed to be worked on or whatever, in the shop. And then, when the cars never returned, weird. Excuses. We now know that Taylor had cooked up over 30 fake aliases to apply for home loans and vehicle loans and all these things, and this is how they were being able to make these purchases. They didn't last, but sure fooled Wade. Taylor also started wearing a silicone baby bump, a fake pregnancy belly. Now, I didn't know that this was a thing. I mean, obviously, for TVs and movies, there's these fake pregnancy bellies, but apparently there's these bellies that also can mimic the sensations of kicking, movement in the belly. Anyway, you're screaming at the screen right now, as was I. How did Wade not know that she was faking the pregnancy? Couldn't he see her body? He claims that Taylor never let him see her naked body because she was insecure about it and he just respected her. Okay, conveniently, since it was COVID times, Wade was not able to attend any doctor's appointments with her. Interesting. That part is really the perfect ruse. It's diabolical. I also suspect that Wade was maybe a little slow. You know what I mean? Maybe he had been kicked by a horse one too many times. I don't know. I also think that he was very enticed by this, imaginary windfall that Taylor was going to inherit that was going to set them up for life. Remember, she had bought him his dream truck. Did I leave that part out? She bought him his dream truck. In March 2020, Taylor and Wade had a gender reveal party to announce that they were expecting a baby girl that they planned to name Clancy Gale. Now remember, Taylor's family knew that she had a hysterectomy. They knew that she could not be pregnant. Her father knew. He attended this party. Nobody said anything to Wade.
Hello?
Taylor's ex-husband actually reached out to Wade via anonymous text, to tell him that Taylor was a scam artist. She cannot and is not pregnant. Run for your life. And Taylor, of course, said that was her evil mom trying to ruin her life. And Wade believed her. She was compelling, I guess. By October 2020, Wade did start to squint at Taylor. She told him that the due date for the baby was September 22nd. It's October now. She's past due. And Taylor claimed that she could not have a natural birth because of, complications from previous pregnancies, she would have to have a planned C-section. But every time these scheduled C-sections would come up, something would happen to make it be delayed. So either the doctor was sick and couldn't do it, some other scheduling problem, there was a fire at their house one day, another time there was a bomb threat at the hospital.
The lies! There you go, this bitch.
Come on. On the morning of October 9th, 2020, Taylor woke Wade up at their home in Sims, Texas. Wade was supposed to drive to Oklahoma to drop hogs off to a customer. Taylor had planned to go with him that day, but now she told him she couldn't. She said she had been up all night with cramps or contractions, whatever. So at this point, Wade now believes that he's hours away from becoming a father for the first time. And he's trying to do the math in his head. It's like a 4-hour drive there or 3 hours, 3-hour drive back. Maybe he could still make it in time. And Taylor reassured him she would rest and then they would just meet at the hospital in Idabel around noon. So Wade left. Around 7 o'clock, Taylor got up, got dressed, drove to McDonald's, ate breakfast, and then she drove to the New Boston, Texas home of 21-year-old Reagan Simmons Hancock. Reagan and her husband Homer had a young daughter, and Reagan was pregnant heavily with their second baby girl that they had planned to name Braxlynn Sage. Taylor had met Reagan a year earlier when she photographed Reagan's wedding. They had been fairly friendly, but not super duper close, but they were both pregnant, like the same stage of pregnancy, and Taylor had wormed her way in to Reagan's life. So Taylor arrived at the house. We don't really know the exact timeline or what really happened, but investigators later said that Reagan had suffered over 100 stab wounds and incised cuts, meaning like long slices. She had been struck 39 times, mostly about the head and face area with a claw hammer, front and back. The evidence showed that she fought desperately for herself and her baby, but Taylor cut Reagan's abdomen with a scalpel that she had brought with her and then removed the baby from the body, stuffed the placenta down her own pants to make it look like she'd just given birth. The placenta, by the way, when it was later examined, had some of Reagan's press-on nails stuck in it, like she had tried to fight to hold on to it. Horrifying. Taylor fled with the newborn, and Reagan was left dying inside her home, and her young daughter was found cowering in a bedroom closet, having heard everything. About an hour later, Reagan's mother discovered the crime scene, and Reagan was dead. Now, at some point, Taylor had discarded some evidence, like to try to conceal it, including Reagan's cell phone. It was gone. Some items connected to the attack were gone. The scalpel was found in Reagan. Then Taylor was intercepted, driving crazily down the road. So fast forward to McCurtain Memorial Hospital in Idabel. And there's Taylor trying to lie her way out of things, and then she eventually confessed to what happened. Now, baby Braxlynn Sage did end up dying at the hospital a few hours after she was ripped out of her mother. Taylor Parker was arrested and charged with capital murder. She was indicted for intentionally causing the death of Reagan Simmons Hancock in the course of kidnapping Braxlynn, and she was charged with intentionally causing the death of Braxlynn. Now, even after she initially confessed at the hospital, Taylor could not stop lying.
She's not a Christian!
She told the police that when she arrived at Reagan's house that morning, Reagan attacked her and they got into a physical fight. Reagan fell and hit her head so badly that she knew she was dying, and she told Taylor to cut the baby out to save it.
Stop it.
Taylor's trial began on September 12th, 2022 in Bowie County, Texas. Despite this mountain of evidence, Taylor continued to say that she was innocent. And it got even crazier. She admitted to faking this pregnancy, but she claimed that her intent was to go to the hospital where she would lose the baby and then just come home empty-handed. She also claimed later in some jailhouse letters that she was drugged and kidnapped by gang members who took her in her own car to Reagan's house, where she woke up, and then they dragged her into the house where they were attacking Reagan. Apparently, these gang members had found out that she was an heiress to this oil fortune. That's not real, and that's why she was targeted. So these jailhouse letters were proven to have been written by Taylor, but the letters are from another inmate. So essentially, Taylor's trying to frame another inmate with these fake letters, which, by the way, were in her handwriting and had details about the murder that only the killer would know. After the jury deliberated for just over an hour, Taylor Parker was found guilty for the murders of Reagan Simmons Hancock and the murder of Braxlynn Sage Hancock. On November 9th, 2022, Taylor was sentenced to death and is currently one of only 7 women rotting on death row at the Patrick L. O'Daniel unit in Gatesville, Texas. An execution date has not been set. She's also filed multiple appeals that have not been successful. And that is the story of Taylor Parker. Pregnant. Well, what was that? I feel like there's even more to the story. Like the lies and crazy stories that Taylor told are just like unlimited. There's just not enough time in the day, right? And that Netflix documentary is good, but like I said, they leave a lot out. It's like it should have been like a docu-series. You know what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments down below if you were following this case, what you think about it. If you want to know any of the makeup that I used in today's look, then look down in the description box. Everything is linked just for you. If you have a Crue Trime story that you want to recommend to me, there's also a link in the description box to take you to a Google Doc where you can fill in all the dirty details. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for hanging out today and for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this one, then consider subscribing to this channel before you leave today. I upload new videos here on YouTube every week, and you can follow me on all of the other socials as well. That is it for now. I will catch you next time in the next video. Bye! Let's choose makeup, shall we? Hello! I'm this guy. Decab. Sleepy motherfucker. It's so hot.